Hey guys, welcome back to Alliance Tournament 16. I'm Elise Randolph with you in the main broadcasting system. We're not with the losers in the other system. We're back in the main system. Thanks to the other guys in the other system, though. I am with the Basilisk, and we've got Brave Collective versus Chaos Theory. Brave Collective in red, taking their flagship golem with a Widow, a Cerberus, a Rook, a Falcon, Osprey, Stork, Caracol, Griffin, Sunesis. So a lot of control here. This is an all ECM control team, more or less. They came in at 50. Baz, why don't you take us through the Chaos Theory team?
So the Chaos Theory team have brought a couple of battleships. They got the Hyperion on the Praxis, and they've brought a Rapier as well. So the long-range webs on that Rapier are going to help to lock things down. And having all warped in at 0 with most of their team, it's pretty clear they're going to want to be able to get immediately on top of whatever their chosen target in the Brave squad is, and just melt them down with the huge DPS coming from this Hyperion and this Praxis. And they've got support wings, so they've got some Gnosis, they've got an Aviom, and they've brought a single Blackbird and a single Griffin as well. So there's a sort of sprinkling of ECM in this comp, which may they may be able to get locks on the Rook and Falcon and stop their own ECM.
Yeah, so it's key right here. The Chaos Theory Griffin is going to try and lock this Rook and Falcon on the Brave Collective side immediately to try and get that first jam off. The Griffin can obviously lock first because it's a frigate and locks faster. So that's going to be pretty key here. Brave Collective are banking their entire flagship with a Yukiko Kami in the Osprey. That's because Chaos Theory banned every shield logistics. So they were kind of expecting this, I guess. So this should be quite interesting. As we see the match starting right now, the Brave Collective team are fanning out as we see Chaos Theory rushing in. Chaos Theory appears to have lost that initial jam war. You see these jams on the sides of both teams. Those are jam attempts. We don't get to see who's going to actually get successful jams, but this Brave Collective Golem is just melting through this Blackbird, and it's already down.
Yeah, certainly a brave choice to bring this Golem at such close range against such a high DPS comp, but unfortunately the jams of the Chaos Theory squad don't go off, and the Blackbird goes straight down, as does the Griffin immediately, of course. Brave Collective wanting to kill that ECM immediately, because ECM, very frustrating to fly against. It can snowball matches pretty heavily against you once you start losing to it, so you want to get those ships off the field as soon as possible, and unfortunately for Chaos Theory, they seem to have sort of lost the initial ECM war here.
Fantastic target calling by Brave Collective. They got that Blackbird and the Griffin down. Now they're going for the Vedmak. The Vedmak is another one of the Triglavian ships. The Leshak was banned. This is the cruiser, and it can ramp up DPS really well as having all that utility. So Brave Collective are melting that right now. The Guardian appears to be having a lock on the Chaos Theory side, so this Vedmak is getting reps, but it's not enough. With this Golem bonus target painter, it is just melting through everything, and that's one of the benefits of having your flagship with you. It's very, very risky, but it's apparently working for them. Morgaine Mighthammer also has a smart bomb running, so he's killing any of these armor maintenance bots from the blue side, and just giving the Brave team a massive advantage here. And they're looking incredibly good. Look at this control bar. The size of the control bar represents the amount of potential control that you have. That's jams, newts, webs, and stuff like that. And they're using everything to full effect. That control bar is filled in with green. Meanwhile, Chaos Theory can't get their whole control bar off the ground. And look how fast this Hyperion is melting. This is the tankiest battleship in the game when it comes to active reps. And it's just going down like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, all these jams being applied from the Brave Collective side are just making it really, really hard. I mean, you've only got 2 or 3 ships on the Chaos Theory side probably being able to lock at a time, so it's really difficult to fight back against this ECM squad once you start losing against it. And I mean, both teams are sort of committed to an ECM war here, and unfortunately for Chaos Theory, Brave Collective seem to have come out on top. They've brought more ECM, and once this match goes one way, it's not going to stop going that way, and Brave Collective seem to be heavily on top.
I really like this Brave Collective setup with so many jams. A Widow is not a ship that we generally see in the Alliance Tournament. The last time we've really seen them to great effect was Alliance Tournament 10. So it's been 6 years since the Widow has had its day in the sun. But in this comp, the Widow makes a lot of sense, a lot of extra ECM on there. It is expensive at 20 points, but you know what? It's working, especially with the paired with the Golem. It's got bonus target painters. So that Widow can hit really, really hard. And we can see that right now. As everything is going down, the Gnosis is going to be the next ship for Brave Collective to take down. As you guys mentioned, or as you mentioned, it looks like Brave are just in mop-up mode. As these ships continue to die, they can apply more of their jammers onto the rest of the ships. So poor Chaos Theory, they probably won't be able to get any locks whatsoever.
Yeah, and like you said, this golem is going to be doing enormous DPS. I mean, it's a flagship golem from Brave Collective, so he's just going to be pumping out either those cruise missiles or those torpedoes. Bonus, like you said, with the bonus target painter, and heavily missile comp with the Widow and the Cerberus as well. So eventually, everything on the Chaos Theory side is going to die. It's just a matter of time, I'd say.
Yeah, this Navy Omen doesn't really appear to be doing all that much. I assume they took it to shoot down some drones and to cancel out some support, but it doesn't appear to do all that much. As we see this thorax going down, we see a lot of weird comps, or at least weird compared to other years in this Alliance tournament. And part of that is because there's a new rule change for Alliance Tournament 16. You can only take one of a certain ship with you. So the Brave Collective side couldn't take two rooks. They had to take a rook and a falcon. Same with the other team. They couldn't really take two of the same ships. So that's why we get to see things like the Navy Omen, the Thorax, and obviously this Rapier, which I'm a little bit questioning, but I guess it's better of an armor tank than the Hugin.
Yeah, I mean, I would personally expect ECM comps to be less prevalent this year than previous years, because generally for an ECM comp to work, you need to reach that sort of critical mass of ECM where you can jam out a significant number of things at the same time and just win through sort of outnumbering your opponent. And yeah, Brave Collective bring in the Rook, the Falcon, the Widow, the Griffin as well, all very, very strong. Maybe ECM modules in the mids on the Sunesis as well. So, very, very difficult. And this match is going to look like a stomp. It's going to look 100-0, but it could very, very easily have gone the other way if the Griffin or the Blackbird for the Chaos Theory side had got jams on the Rook and the Falcon. Could have gone very differently.
So Golem from the Brave Collective side is the flagship. Chaos Theory do have a flagship Praxis, but they did not bring it in this match. So this Praxis that's going to go down is not their flagship. So they'll be able to use it in the lower bracket. But as you said, one interesting thing about jams in the Alliance tournament is one of the best ways to counter that is to take a single race of ships with you. But that becomes increasingly difficult when you can only take one of a certain ship class. So the Rook, Falcon, and Griffin pairs, I think we'll be able to see a lot of Griffin plus Blackbird or Griffin plus Rook in this Alliance tournament to great effect, because you can just put Rainbow Jammers on it and be a little bit more effective. But who knows how that's going to work out. People will counter that by having remote ECCM. The Sunesis is really great at that because it's for 1 point you get 4 mid slots. So you can just have it sit in the back with remote ECCM to boost you up. And that could really throw a wrench in the cogs of these ECM teams. But not for Brave Collective. They are just rolling on through here, making their Legacy Coalition look really, really good right now.
Yeah, as the Praxis of Chaos Theory's Corpse Driver goes down, I'd imagine the 3 remaining pilots for Chaos Theory aren't getting to play much EVE Online right now with this overwhelming force of jams against them. They're probably just sort of sitting there waiting to be punched and, slowly give away their kill modes. But of course, they're on screen, they were on stream, they want to have as much time promoting their alliance as possible. So not just going to in and out the boundary arena, they're just going to sit there and get whittled away by Brave Collective, presumably.
Yeah, that's going to be how this cookie crumbles. They can try and make it to one of these MJD beacons to MJD out of the arena, but they're just sitting there as top men. Maybe they're looting the field a little bit so that the loot gets kind of destroyed. These matches are held on Tranquility, so these ships actually have value. So these teams have lost, or at least Chaos Theory have lost a few billion just by having their ships out there. But if you do win a match, you do get 10 ship skins for the SOTC ships. So that's for the Praxis, the Gnosis, and the Sunesis. So it's a good thing to participate in the Alliance tournament. You almost always make money.
Yes, it's definitely a worthwhile gamble, as well as being a lot of fun. It does take a lot of preparation to get ready for it. All the teams that generally are successful spend a lot of time theory crafting and practicing and making sure everyone knows what they're doing and getting everyone on the same page. But yeah, if you find success, it can be very, very profitable. You can make a lot of money from flying in the Alliance tournament. It's good fun, very good fun.
We have some GFs in local, and Brave are even dirtier in throwing a new flight of ECM drones onto the bad guy ships. So Chaos Theory, not only are they getting jammed, they're getting ECM jammed too. Though it looks like Yukiko Kami, one of the better logistics pilots in the Alliance tournament, someone that kind of was a standout star in the last 2 Alliance tournaments. Brave are putting a lot of confidence in their Logi pilot by taking this flagship setup with a Tech 1 logistics. They're using the Osprey. That's because Yukiko Kami is one of the best Alliance tournament logistics pilots. So, Brave showing confidence in their team.
Yeah, very, very, very confident to see the three bands, the Basilisk, the Scimitar, and the Scythe from Chaos Theory, and saying, okay, we'll bring the Osprey and not really care about it, and just do our plan anyway, and do what we were planning on doing beforehand.
And of course, Brave decided to let up on the damage a little bit so they can pick up some more loot. I see a cargo container, so they might actually be even salvaging. Classic Brave newbies, always salvaging the
Got to get
battlefield.
those modules for the new player hangers, but only 30 seconds remaining, so they better overheat their salvages if that's possible, and quickly get this loot because the match is going to end very shortly.
It's actually they're going to be able to kill the Guardian before time runs out. So props again to Brave Collective taking this 100-0 with a very strong, very cool looking control team with their flagship Golem paired with a Widow. Alexi's going to be very happy that he gets to mark Black Ops Battleship off in his little stat sheets. For Elise Randolph and the Basilisk, we're going to send it back to Ithaca Hawk in the studio for more Alliance Tournament 16 action.
Some of the crew getting ready. Right here we got the commentating booth, and last but not least, the studio. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream.
Hi, I'm Gran Arcana, Test Alliance head diplomat. My interests are negotiating backroom deals and glazing the blue donut. My ideal fleet member is your entire corporation. If you want to fly with me, join Test today.
Guys, welcome back. We're back in the studio here in Nottingham, and we have a treat for you. We have 33% more freedom now in the studio. I am joined by Mr. Elise Randolph over here. Sorry, Laz, is it Laz Tilraven?
It's either one.
Or Elise?
I can go with both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Laz has joined us all the way from the United States of America. He brought his Eagle. They had some problems at immigration, but we got there. Eagle's outside just now. As I say, come down on weekend 4, viewing party. Pet an eagle. That's a pretty solid bonus. Now, we just saw Brave Collective there beating Chaos Theory, both teams bringing dishonorable ECM. Of course, Brave were more dishonorable because they won. And then they were very smart. They actually kept the last ship alive there so they could loot the field. I'm not sure why, because that was not a flagship praxis that Chaos Theory brought, at least I'm not told it is. So unless they are so poor that they need those Tech 2 modules, that's a strange decision, but yet they did it. Now, one thing, speaking of flagships, worth mentioning is that Brave Collective actually brought their flagship Golem in that match, and that is the first flagship we've actually seen. So, Tonya, flagship Golem, why would you choose a ship like that?
Yeah, so the Golem, you can't bring the Bastion module on the Golem, but you can. It still does have a very strong tank bonus. It gets a bonus per level to its tank. It does have some Tech 2 resists. But then also, because it's a flagship, what you can do is you can Abyssal roll on an active shield booster, put that onto your Golem, and it tanks even more. Marauders also have 4 utility high slots, and they can also MJD every minute or so as well, so they have really good mobility in the arena.
Yeah, well, they're one of the more mobile battleships, especially with that reduction to cooldown on the macro jump drive. Now, you mentioned their Abyssal mods, Laz. That's something that we can bring on flagships, but can you give us a quick rundown on what is an Abyssal mod and why is that so important for a flagship?
Well, the Abyssal mods are regular mods, but they're you use mutaplasmids to actually roll them to make them better or worse. It could go either way. It's about RNGesus and how hard you pray, really. But the big one, especially for, like Tonya said, the Golem, is that active shield booster. And if you get a really good roll on it, you buff that tank, and you can use the Golem kind of as a bait ship, as you saw Brave do in that match with their warp in at 30 kilometers.
Yeah, so warping, that's actually something I wanted to talk to you there. Now, you were talking about that before we came into the studio here, is that something that you noticed. You said that the Brave Golem came in at 30 and everyone else came in at 50. What's so important about that in this case?
Well, with this warp in, you saw the other team warped in at 0, and with the Golem coming in at 30, and you saw the smart bomb blast from the Golem. So the drones from the other team have to fly past the Golem to get to the other ship, so he's able to blast the smart bomb, go ahead and remove some of that damage off the field. And you also have a tempting target there to see if they want to actually try and shoot, depending on how seasoned their target caller is. So the Golem is basically just shielding the rest of his team, and that's what just really made a huge difference.
Yeah, so really all about positioning there, putting that ship right up front and just letting the team decide, well, do we go through the Golem, or do we go around the Golem, or do we just try and shoot the Golem? Yeah. And I mean, it looks like Wholesale just couldn't break anything on the Brave team there, where the Brave team just slowly jammed and killed everything that, not Wholesale, sorry, Chaos Theory, and just demolished them. I think they didn't lose a single ship, and as I said, looted the field. Well done, Brave. So we have the very first of our infamous Alexei Aksan graph porn graphs to show you today here on the Alliance Tournament 16 stream. I'm told this is damage by ship class. So that's always something that's going to be interesting. Now, these graphs are actually going to be updated throughout the tournament. Alexei's built a pretty dope tool that allows him to feed in every match as it happens, and the graphs will just keep building and getting bigger and more fancy and more data. So we're going to show that graph right now, and let's have a look at it here in the studio as well. So this is damage by ship class. So we're seeing, probably not surprising, industrials not doing a huge amount of damage. Laz, what do you make of this graph?
I think industrials are really underrated. I think they're going to be the sleeper in this Alliance tournament, and we're going to see a comeback here. No, I mean, because you see the high damage dealt by the battleships, just because, I mean, you do have the big battleship-sized guns, and if you look at the older Alliance tournaments, there's a lot of battle cruisers, so the battleship guns do apply well to the larger hull of the battle cruiser, but and you see it kind of spread across down to the battle cruiser and cruiser, and then the destroyers. You don't see as much of representation as the frigates, just because the frigates, you have like the Griffins, which they don't do damage, but they kind of like the Daredevils and Tacklers from the previous Alliance tournaments. So they do have a lot of representation, which is why you see the frigate bar so high.
So Tony, I mean, looking at this, we see damage coming mainly from battleships, but a lot of it going mainly onto the cruisers. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that maybe the battleships aren't going for the high damage battleships first?
Well, it's normally because the cruiser is going to be a key ship, like a recon ship, like we saw the Falcon and the Rook. We also see the logistic cruisers as well, like Basilisks and the Nereus. They're sort of the linchpin of the team very often, and you want to kill them first.
Yeah, so we see obviously battleships spitting out the DPS and the cruisers soaking it up. So the first of many graphs in this Alliance tournament. I am so excited for so much graph porn. I love graphs, they are great. Alexei did such a fantastic job upstairs. The man brought 5 monitors to do this. Like, he is just collecting stats and graphs appear. It's just fantastic. And I think we've got a couple more that we can show up probably in the next bit from historical data as well. So we can look at maybe some things from past tournaments, but we'll get that confirmed. So I'm also hearing straight news, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, from the tournament system, that the Brave Golem thought he had Bastion and never moved. So he never moved because he thought he was in Bastion. He thought he had Bastion. He did not have Bastion because
it was against the rules, so
he had no Bastion module. He apparently thought he did and thought he was in Bastion. I'm not sure how that one happens, but then again, it is Brave, and they do have more fun per hour, as they claim. So I applaud you. That's a fantastic moment for you, Brave. Well done. So the next match coming up very soon is actually going to be one of the ones that we've been looking forward to here in the studio. It's Samurai Sold Out versus the Barcode Alliance. Barcode Alliance are Thermodynamics from the years before. So Tonya, who were Thermodynamics and who are Barcode?
So Thermodynamics are sort of a really solid roaming group on TQ. They sort of, I think they live in a C2 with a null-6 static, and they sort of come out and roam around, a lot like Odin's Call. They did pretty well in the last year, I believe. They were in the top 6. They were almost in the top 16, and the teams that they lost to were Brave Collective and Exodus, which, you know, not really much to be sad about because they were really good teams.
Yeah, especially Brave last year. And to be honest, Brave, really good, apart from the fact that they thought they were in Bastion, a really good showing so far. They really did well against Chaos Theory there, really just dominated them. Samurai sold out though. I mean, Laz, do you know much about them?
I don't actually know much about them. I do know that they went 1-2 last year, so they did make it out of the feeders, which is something to commend them by themselves.
Oh yeah, the feeders last year was just hell for the teams that went through that. Like it was single elimination, I believe. It was just once you lost, you were out. So teams had to just grind through all these matches just to get into the tournament. Conversely, they could just pay, but if you're a team like Samurai Sold Out, you probably don't want to pay the sort of average 60-70 billion bids that some of the teams were putting in. So the feeders were a really great addition last year.
Well, they're also one of the few teams that brought the Scorpion Navy issue, which that'll be interesting to see if they end up bringing it to this match coming up. Which Scorpion Navy issue as a flagship, able to project damage across the entire arena with the cruise missiles, and then they also have a pretty decent tank, being a faction battleship.
Yeah. So Tony, do you know what Barcode have picked as their flagship?
Yeah, they have a flagship Lashak.
The flagship Lashaks. I think we're going to see a lot of them. Well, we are going to see a lot of them. It's fact, because about half the teams have brought Lashaks as flagships. So not much to think about there. Now, if we had to pick, here's the Tony. Who are you going to go for, Barcode or Samurai?
I think it's definitely for the Barcode team. Samurai were 1-2 in AT15, but the only team they beat was a troll team that filled in an on-demand setup. So I think they've yet to prove themselves, and I think Thermodynamics Barcode are a team that can definitely make it into the top 16 this year.
Laz, what about you? You agree with that, or are you going to go for
I agree.
Samurai?
I definitely think Barcode has the advantage here with the, like I said, 3-2 last year. That's a pretty big feat, and with the team from Thermodynamics, if they still have that core there, they have a lot of experience.
Yeah, and I'm going to round out and agree with the guys there. I think Thermodynamics / Barcode are going to be the team that takes this one. But it's time to find out as we hand over to our boys in the booth for the match. But not yet. Despite being told that the match was imminent, we're not ready to go to it. So we should just talk more about what we think is going to happen. Laz?
So what do you have planned today?
To be honest, I think maybe after this, maybe go to the pub, have a beer, calm down, because this studio is hot as balls, I'll tell you that right now. The UK has a heat wave, and we have lights, and lights are hot, we are hot. I am very hot. And that's temperature-wise. I've probably just opened myself up to a lot of stuff in Twitch chat. Don't you guys do it, I'm watching you already. The teams are now landing. Thank you. We will hand over to the boys in the booth once again.